Stage Left friends and family. I'm Virginia.
I'm Jackson. Hi.
And we are going to make springtime homemade sugar cookies for the COVID quarantine cooking class. This recipe is from my mom, who passed it down generations, and you will find it is by far the very best sugar cookies you will ever eat. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so first thing you want to do is take the dough mixer for your mixer. If you don't have one and you just have a handheld mixer, that's fine. And your mixing bowl. First things first, Jackson,
Yes.
start measuring 4 cups of flour in there. And I buy the pre-packaged Crisco's, but you can use it in a tub if you want and measure it out. One of these equals 1 cup. So you just need one of these for a batch. Must be noted, because it is COVID quarantine cooking, that our workstations have been completely sanitized and our hands have been completely washed and sterilized as well. Make sure you're filling your flour all the way to the top, Jackson.
I am.
And we're gonna put this in here. Is that cup 3?
This is 3.
Okay, we need one more. And while he's adding that, we're gonna add a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda. These are our dry ingredients. You put it on, and the recipe says mix like pie dough, and what that means is it's dry, so you want to blend the Crisco shortening in with the flour. And we're going to take a break. I'm going to wash my hands because I just touched my face. I just want to show you what this looks like so you know you're ready to start adding your wet ingredients. It's just kind of little clumps of shortening mixed with the flour and, you know, just kind of broken up. So Jackson, we're ready to add our wet ingredients. And the first thing I need is 2 beaten eggs. And Jackson's gonna beat the eggs.
It's a lot of pressure.
And they don't have to be completely beaten. That's good, Jack. Just dump that in there. And then the other thing, my mother, if she was like your mother or grandparents, she really didn't measure out stuff. So when I asked her to write this recipe down before she passed, it was always an estimate, and she really didn't use measuring cups. She used coffee mugs to measure hers. So I estimate that a cup of sugar, and it was a heaping cup, is the equivalent of a big heaping coffee mug. So I add more than a cup of sugar, kind of like that, more like a cup and a quarter, okay? And then we're gonna add 3 teaspoons of vanilla. One thing I don't do, I don't cook with imitation butter or vanilla. I usually like to use Madagascar vanilla, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So we just have the regular store-bought, but it is pure vanilla, not vanilla extract. Or, well, it is vanilla extract. It's pure vanilla and not imitation. So we're gonna do 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're gonna start beating that together while Jackson takes a measuring cup. Take one of those. You can get down in there, Nick. Okay, we're gonna start with a 1/2 cup of milk and see, and you might need to add more. You want it to get to the consistency of dough without getting too sticky or too dry. So you just kind of eyeball it, and I'm gonna add a little more milk and see how that goes. A little bit more. I'm gonna take it and check it out. And that looks pretty good. So now what we're gonna do, you can see it's all mixed together. Tip it over. And it's okay if it's a little wet. I mean, you don't want it completely wet, but see how the mixer didn't get the bottom. And that's okay because we're gonna mix this in with more flour when we roll it out. So what I'm gonna do is just mix it a little bit more. I'm going to cover it and put it in the refrigerator for about half an hour or 45 minutes. That will make it so that it rolls out nicely, and we'll be back. So we're back, and our dough has gotten chilled, and now Jackson, Emma, and Isabella are gonna show you how to roll it out.
We've washed our hands and sanitized the surface, and now we're gonna sprinkle our flour.
Need more flour?
More flour.
Just dump it. We're gonna dump the flowers.
Dump, dump, dump. There you go.
Don't say ooh, it's literally just powder.
Not flour.
All right.
Cold.
Okay.
All right, now make your balls.
It's my favorite part.
This is going on a family community theater's Facebook page.
No,
You don't want to over knead it or you'll develop too much gluten. You'll have a
Okay, we
chewy
get
cookie.
it. You
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
I
know.
do.
Okay. No fighting. Let's go.
So then you're gonna want to roll out your dough. Now you don't want it to be too thin or too thick, so you're gonna find a nice happy medium. And make sure you roll it all around. And you want your rolling pin to have flour on it as well, which I already did before we started filming, so sorry about that. All right, how's that look?
It looks good.
All right. So, for our shapes for the cookies, we have a butterfly, a bunny, an egg, and just a plain circle one because, you know, it's Easter time, springtime, we want some nice spring cookies. So let's just make some of like all the shapes.
The important thing to remember is you always want to have flour on your cookie cutter
Right.
so it doesn't stick.
And so once you have your first ball all cut out with all your different shapes, you're just gonna wanna repeat that whole process until all of your dough is cut out. And you can start baking as you're cutting and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're just gonna keep on rolling and keep on cutting. All right, so once you have your cookies out on the tray, you're gonna wanna put them into a 350-degree oven and start with 10 minutes and then just periodically check them. And if you need to add more time, just add more time until they're done. So yeah.
The other thing Jackson forgot to tell you, you don't have to do this, but it just makes the cookies more golden brown. If you're using a metal cookie sheet, it's always best to put parchment paper on so that the cookies don't stick. You don't need to spray the cookie sheet before putting them on, but if you're using metal, use parchment. However, if you're using stoneware, you don't need to use parchment. And look how nice and golden brown those got.
Looks like the oven's done. That's our 10-minute mark. So we're gonna turn off the timer. Mom, I don't know if you're done.
Look,
All
we're
right.
gonna,
So you're gonna pull them out just for a second.
okay, we're gonna check the bottom. You just kind of touch it.
Make sure your hands are clean, of course.
Of course. Yep, perfect. See how that's just slightly golden brown. Perfection.
All right.
You put those on a cooling rack and let them cool.
And then we'll put it in our next batch.
Okay, so now we're gonna make the cream cheese icing. And it's like a buttercream, but it's got cream cheese in it. Cream cheese is optional. If you don't like it or you're allergic to it, you can just omit the cream cheese and just use butter. So for this, I'm gonna do a batch and a half. So I'm gonna take 1.5. You can use 2 sticks of cream cheese if you want. You wanna make sure the cream cheese is soft. And, okay, so I've got a half stick of softened real butter, not margarine. And then this one just wouldn't get to room temperature, so I softened it. You really don't want to melt it, but it kind of melted. It won't hurt anything. So we're going to put that in there. We're going to put this feature on the mixer. Again, if you're just using a hand mixer, that's fine too. And so we just want to give this a little whirl around here until it all blends together. Okay. See how we got this beaten, real creamy, everything's creamed together. So then I'm going to start slowly, because if you add it all at once, your powdered sugar is going to fly everywhere and make a mess. So you just slowly add, and you want to do about 2 pounds of powdered confectioner's sugar. This is a 2-pound bag. I've got some old bags I'm using up, so I'm gonna add what is the equivalent of 1 bag. You want to make sure all the lumps are out, because once you add your liquid, you really can't get the lumps out again. So I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, so when you get everything creamed together, it's going to be extremely thick. So now we're ready to add our liquid. Okay, so I'm going to add about a tablespoon of vanilla. You can add more or less to your liking. We're going to mix that in there. And then I'm going to slowly start adding the milk. You can use it right out of the refrigerator. Some people microwave it. That's all your preference. If you beat everything together like I did and there's no lumps, doesn't matter if your milk's cold or warm. Just a little trick. So again, this is to your liking. How thick you want your frosting is how much milk you add. Obviously, the thicker you want it, the less milk you add. The thinner you want it, the more milk you add. Now this is not a royal icing. This is not going to have a sheen to it when you frost your cookies. These are more for taste as opposed to the fancy cookies that look pretty but don't taste so good. I'm going to add a little bit more milk. And that's about how thick I like my icing to be. I like it on the thicker side. And then we're going to divide it up into different cups, and we're going to put food coloring in it.
Here we have our icing. We're just putting it into these different cups and dyeing it different colors with food coloring. We also have sprinkles over there to decorate it, and there's my dog. And we're gonna make really pretty, nice spring cookies like these. And here you have the finished product. They're super cute, and they are the best cookies you will ever have. So while you're staying safe and staying home, make our family's famous sugar cookies. Thanks for watching.